Thank you again and welcome again to Combermere School. Mr. Barris, Principal, Mara Thompson, wife of the late David Thompson, Prime Minister, Mrs. Brown, Deputy, Mr. Ed Bushel, Chairman for tonight, panelists all, Mr. Harold Neil Jones. We want you to give him a special welcome. This gentleman, Mr. Jones, come all the way from New York. He's the chairman of the board of directors of Combermere Alumni Inc. in New York and his wonderful wife Shirley. I must tell you that when we were in New York in August for Global Reunion 2012, Mr. Jones and company in New York went out of their way and did human service to make us all extremely comfortable. And again, he's taken the time to come to Barbados to celebrate Combermere Week. So a special welcome to Mr. Jones and his wife. And also to all of the other panelists here this evening. This is special for us in that it really ought to be, it should be commemorating as a first debate, the late David Thompson. And of course, all of us in this room and beyond know at this very school is where Mr. Thompson cut his teeth and actually got into debate, was indeed a powerhouse, we are told. He was not here in my time, but I'm sure that the ones who encountered him at the school at that time can attest to his prowess in terms of debating skills. We also want to say to you that the week will progress smoothly, and we thank you for coming in your numbers so far. And they had tennis this evening. I see one of the top shoots here. You'll perhaps hear from him a little bit later on. And tomorrow, Tuesday, they will have football and hockey. New again this year will be the Jamming Catamaran T20 tape cricket. That's going to be on Wednesday night, and that promises to be exceedingly exciting. And on Thursday, this is one that is very close to Combermereans' past, where they come and impart their knowledge, their skills, their wisdom with the students at what we call the in-class discussions on Thursday morning. And then on Friday, who needs to explain what Friday will represent? The Grand Reunion, where Combermereans old, Combermereans new, Combermereans short, Combermereans fat, Combermereans old, Combermereans vintage, come and enjoy the ambiance and the family life that Combermere is so familiarly known for on Friday night, the 2nd of November. And indeed, Mr. Paris can attest to being one of the persons who leave here on Saturday morning, sometimes 3:30, going into 4 o'clock, having spent the entire day at the school during the day on Friday. But then to top it all off, we have the Blue Ribbon class testimonial dinner, and that's going to be at the Hilton Barbados Hotel. This year we have 3 honorees. We know them very well, but we need to let you know who they are. Combermere School, coming out of a musical setting for many years. Arthur Tapping is one of the recipients, honorees for this year. And then is Mr. Anton Norris, the star high jumper, whom I'm told was the first person at Combermere to jump over 6 feet. And then Dr. Honorable Leonard Nurse. Those are the 3 Combermereans. A coastal environmentalist, expert, I think is the first laureate, Ms. Mars tells me, in Barbados. And we want you to support that dinner. As I speak, I know that there's the memorabilia section out in the foyer. Tickets are ready, and we really would want you to support that. But at this point, I will pass the microphone over to the moderator for the evening, Mr. Ed Bushel, who will take us on this journey. And I'm sure that we will all be the wiser when we leave here this evening. Mr. Ed Bushel.
Unable to feel a team.
They were afraid.
They were afraid of party. Well, one member of the PDA, our representative PDA, who was not afraid, but he's here in the audience, is Mr. Joseph Chula. He has chosen to stay down in the ranks and fire and snipe from down in the ranks, the trenches. Okay. As you will notice, as we sat tonight, our band started at 4, we have now gone to 7. And we welcome the addition to the band, all from Combermere School. And these on here is old scholars, they look young to me.
That's right.
And here are present scholars from Combermere School. So we're going to have a discussion this evening on a subject that raises a lot of questions, moral, ethical, could be legal questions. Questions such as the responsibility of the mother, responsibility of the father. When is a fetus really a human being? Is it an insemination or is it on the first breath? But there are a lot of questions that we could discuss this evening, but our topic this evening is doctors should be allowed to perform abortions on underage girls once the parent gives consent. Because we're not going to form a debate, I'm going to give the panelists a little bit of latitude so that when they make sure statement the subject, they can feel free if they think that they need to go a little bit outside to strengthen the point that they can do so because we're in a discussion. Your role as the audience is to listen carefully to the panelists. Each one has a presentation of 5 minutes and a maximum 5 minutes. So if you are ready to stop before you may. But your role as the audience is to listen carefully and to challenge them on what they say. And to bring forward their point of view as well so we can have a really interesting, interactive and lively discussion. So I want to introduce the panelists to you. On my left is Mr. Simon Ali. He's a teacher at Combermere. Next to him, no, not next to him. I thought David was next to him. Next to him is Sonny St. Hill, who is head of department at the law school. She's trying to take the spirit out of that place. And next to me is Mr. David Williams, the archivist. He's the chief. He's responsible for all the records about your ancestors. On my right is Dr. Sunita Alexander, who's a medical doctor at the QEH, Combermere. Next, this will get in trouble. Next to her, I think, is Ms. Shakila Bobel-Harris. That's right. She's a member of the debating team. And then on her right is Mr. Karim Terrell. He's a school captain. And you have to help me now. Christina Yearwood. Remember the debate said?
No, just vice captain.
Vice set captain. So we're well represented from here and also as well represented. And I'm going to start the discussion on my immediate left. I'm going to ask Simon to start us off.
Thank you. The Honourable David Thompson, Member of Parliament for St. John, Principal Mr. David Paris, Deputy Principal Mrs. June Brown, President of the Combermere School Old Scholars Association, Mr. Junior Jordan, members of the Executive of the Old Scholars Association, Combermereans past and present, ladies and gentlemen, my learned colleagues, Mr. Moderator. This evening, our group of panelists, we stand in support of the debate topic that doctors should be allowed to perform abortions on underage girls once their parents give them consent. It is also our belief that we have stated, once we have stated our facts tonight, that those of you in the audience would also share our convictions and would also agree with us, the members of the proposition. But first of all, to appreciate this whole debate, we have to understand what an abortion is. Now, in the context of this evening's discussion, an abortion can be defined as the termination of pregnancy by choice involving the removal of the products of conception, such as the fetus, fetal membranes, and placenta from the uterus. So that is our definition of abortion in context of this debate this evening. Now, Mr. Moderator, I submit to you that, first of all, abortion for women and underage girls is legal in Barbados. So that's the first thing we must understand, that abortion in Barbados for women and underage girls is legal. Alright? The Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act of 1983 permits abortion on broad health grounds. If I can just directly quote from it, it stipulates that an abortion can be performed if a medical practitioner is of the opinion, formed in good faith, that A, the continuance of the pregnancy would involve the risk of the life of the pregnant woman or grave injury to her physical or mental health. B, a substantial risk exists that if the child were born, it would suffer physical or mental abnormalities as to be seriously handicapped. Now, the 1983 Act also allows abortions on judicial and socio-economic grounds. If it specifies that when determining if the continuation of the pregnancy would involve a risk of injury to the health of the pregnant woman, the medical practitioner must take into account the pregnant woman's social or socio-economic environment, whether actual or foreseeable, and that the written statement of a pregnant woman that she reasonably believes that her pregnancy was caused by an act of rape or incest is sufficient to constitute grave injury to her mental health. Now, as it relates to the debate this evening, the discussion, thank you. If the pregnant woman is under 16 years of age or of unsound mind, the approval of her parent or guardian is required. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, we understand that by law in Barbados, abortions are legal. Now, the abortion may be performed within 12 weeks of pregnancy with the authorization of a physician. If the pregnancy is of more than 12 weeks, but less than 20 weeks duration, the procedure must be conducted by authorized by two physicians. If more than 20 weeks, it must be authorized by 3 physicians. Now, in the latter case, the abortion may be performed only if immediately necessary to save the life of the pregnant woman or to prevent grave, permanent injury to the physical health of the woman or her unborn child. So, Mr. Moderator, there's a reason why the Medical Termination Act of 1983 was passed. And one of the main reasons for this act was that the government was concerned with the high morbidity and mortality resulting from unsafe, illegal abortions, or as we call them, backstreet abortions, which were not done under stringent medical conditions, but occurred at home, occurred in the bedrooms of homes or in the bathrooms of homes or even schools. So the Act of 1983 was designed to protect the health, social and psychological well-being of the minor. The Act was passed because of the recognition that prior to 1983, not only were a lot of abortions being done in Barbados, but the unsanitary and unprofessional people who carried them out killed or left scores of women badly injured. As one doctor recalled, he said people used to do a lot more abortions at home and then they would come to the hospital bleeding. Women used to insert objects such as wire hangers inside of them. Sometimes they would pour in a disinfectant inside of them, jump off walls, all sorts of things. Now, in an article by Dr. Boyce, he argues that it was common for women to lose their lives because of hemorrhage, sepsis, and sometimes renal failure due to the insertion of chemical agents like Lysol Dettol, Savon, which some of the untrained persons used to inject into the womb of women. Now, when we look at this broad topic, and we look at it with regards to children, we must understand that parents have the responsibility to protect their children. Parents are supposed to do in their mind what they believe is best for their children. Having a 13 or 14-year-old girl carry a baby to term and give birth is not the best thing for that child, physically or mentally. And having a child at that age is not good for the mental, emotional, or the financial conditions of that young lady. Okay? And this is another fact to be corroborated by my colleague. Alright? So forcing a young person to continue, an underage teenage girl to continue the pregnancy is bad parenting and inherently wrong, even if the parents plan to reduce the burden by helping out financially. Child labor is against the law because parents do not own their children's bodies and cannot force them into circumstances where their bodies are being taxed unreasonably. And I have a hard time believing that a child having to bring to term a pregnancy would not be considered as hard and taxing on that child's body. Or underage girls must not be denied their right to enjoy their childhood, inclusive of their right to pursue an education free of adult responsibilities. How can you expect a child to raise a child when they are not allowed to be children themselves? We must not and should not hide behind the sanctimonious, self-righteous value of anti-abortion sentiment because it makes us look good. We must press on for a comprehensive sexuality education in the school system, effective parenting, education, and respect for the fundamental rights and freedoms of minorities and the enactment of progressive legislation which meets the needs of all citizens, and in this case, our underage children. Doctors should be allowed to perform abortions on underage girls once their parents give consent. It's my regulation.
Body and accept what is best as an entirety for our nation and for its peoples, and not just what we have based on concepts and religions. So therefore, we have to look at this from a different perspective, as was established. It is an unpleasant but relevant fact that our youth are engaging in sexual activity at younger and younger ages, and therefore we can promote abstinence, we can promote all we like, but if they want to do it, they're going to do it, as a colleague said. And therefore, what happens as a country is we have to facilitate this and we have to find a way to work past this. As we said, we have established the law for abortions to happen to an underage child as long as there's parental consent. And as we said, at this age, a child wouldn't know exactly what is best for it or how best to handle these situations or whatnot. And in our society, who are we taught to look to? Our elders. We're taught to respect them and acknowledge them. And the foremost person in our lives at that point would be your parents. And if we are saying as a community, as a country, that we can't trust the parents with giving consent to knowing what is best for their children and best for the situation, then what are we doing as a nation? We're still in the dark ages and we still have preconceived notions, and we are still sitting with a closed-minded concept and forefront to this knowledge. So therefore, I think we have to acknowledge and factor in all the other social factors such as molestation and the social stigma and stratification that comes with unwanted pregnancy, especially at this age. And we have to decide to capitalize on this new law, and we have to push forward collectively. And slowly and surely it will be accepted. We're not saying that that we are using this as a nation to say for lack of a better word, glorify what the youth are doing. And we know that yes, people make mistakes, but we can't let them be punished for the rest of their lives for one mistake. So what I'm saying is collectively, we need to start working on changing the Barbadian mindset towards abortion, because like I said, we now have access to great knowledge and great medical aspirations, and we can deal with this properly. So therefore, let's move on.
This is to make an example, among the disabled children in Barbados, there are ravenous about sex. I have situations where disabled children 12 and 13 years old are dealing with young girls who are 10 and 11 and 12 and trying to have sex with them in the classroom. This is a serious matter. I'm using the example of disabled children. Now, if disabled children are as promiscuous as the one that I am attending to, not all of them, but there are 5 that are sex maniacs. There's some 12-year-old boys that just like sex, and I can't wait till they hold the one. The 2 of them attack their grandmothers. The grandmothers come out of the school, of the bath, and they are what they call the old time masturbating between the grandmothers. I'm serious. This is a serious thing. Now when we juxtapose what is happening with disabled children, can you understand the attitude that prevails with so-called able-bodied children? Nowadays, let us be realistic. The children want sex from early. I preside over a friendly society, and there were 2 girls in the hospital. One was 15 and one was 16. They were both pregnant for the same man, who was 17. The 2 girls had babies, and both babies, the 2 parents, the 2 babies, and the man all have HIV. The attitude of the 2 girls was simple. We can live till 21, and we can die, so what? What you want us to do? We were born with HIV. So we can have sex and we can die at 25 or 26, so what? And a lot of the young people nowadays, because of economic circumstances, don't care. They don't care. They don't want to listen to their parents. Now I am a parent, and I have a daughter going to Combermere, and she can't tell me she's pregnant, she's dead. She's what? She can't. No, why not the dark ages? But then in my mind, because I was so angry, because I have 3 daughters, and by the time they were 9, 10, the education I gave them, because I am a master at lovemaking, and I have guided them in what tricks men use to get at them. And I talk to them straight. Men can hold your breast and say, I feel funny. And things like that. And you talk straight to the children, and not one of my daughters are so foolish as to go and get pregnant. Because they know. I mean, it's just like my son, if he took drugs, he take 2. Because they would kill him for anyway drugs. But the reason why I feel so strong about it is because if a woman becomes pregnant, the child that is formed is not guilty of any crime. I think more seriously now, regardless of the circumstances, our institutions must implement some measure of protection for people or children who have fallen by the wayside, because it will happen. I went to Pakistan. There were 4 young girls who were raped and had been impregnated with men. And the state brought a man called Rahmat Ali, a criminal, dressed in swaddling clothes, and gave him a bullet. And they put the rapists on Karachi, on the cricket square in Karachi. And as was described in the papers the next morning, where Jeff Boycott took Gary, the state put these men on slabs and gave Rahmat Ali a bullet. And he killed all 4 of them on the square by running and hitting them in the back. Now, I have heard nothing tonight, so far, about what has happened to the men who have been pregnant the women. Are they young men? Are they old men? because I have a tremendous problem with abortion, period. Abortions are very dangerous. And you take a young child who is pregnant and you're going to put them at risk when so many people have died with abortions at all. So I think that we have to find a mechanism to protect the ones, because if you look at the percentage of the children who have yeah, that's okay. If you look at the percentage of the children who have to have abortions, it is a very, very, very small percentage. So which means that the message that is going through the young people to abstain and to behave themselves, to get the responsibility to have sex, is working. But we are now completing the cycle. But to say that is suggesting that we have a problem. I don't think that we do. I respect the youth of our village because 99.5% of them are behaving responsibly. And I've heard nothing about the doctor here. And she has not told us how many people died from illegal abortions. Unfortunately for me, as I would close, is that my father, Joshua, he said that he did not like contraceptives and he did not agree with abortions, and that's why he had 47 children.
Thanks very much. I believe the panel is now 1 minute. 1 minute each.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Okay, going back to the topic, that doctors should be allowed to perform abortions on underage girls with parents' consent. Remember that, first of all, the law is in place already. That's the first thing we must consider. The next thing that we are saying too in our argument is that we are not advocating that abortion is seen as a means of contraception. It isn't, but it must be an option. In our opinion, it should be the last resort, but nevertheless, it's an option that these people should have. All right?
Thank you.
Just to have an option that is there, don't force your children, your underage children to go through pregnancy and delivery just to put the child in foster care to say my conscience is satisfied.
Yeah, I would just agree that it should be there as an option. As I said, it's not a first resort, it's something that we don't want to do because we all agree earlier that abortion is not a good thing and should only be done if and when absolutely necessary as a last resort. But let it be there. Let's not just say no way it cannot be done. Thank you.
The Act actually protects against when this life starts. That is why after 20 weeks you can't have an abortion unless it is because of a health issue with the child or the mother. So the Act actually protects against when life actually occurs, because life can occur after 24 weeks and they can survive after 24 weeks.
Just to reinforce on a point one of my colleagues made, that abortion has to be, it should be an option, because like we said, we're telling the young people what not to do, but we're not providing an alternative. And like I said, as a developing nation, these are things we need to take into consideration and what things we need to capitalize upon and reinforce. So yes, abortion should be an option with the consent of the parent for an underage child.
I think it all comes down to a matter of education. Both the parent, adults, become parents, and the children themselves. I can guarantee you that the majority of teenagers that become pregnant have similar factors in their life. For example, the single parent, their socioeconomic background, and you can look at it from a historical perspective as well. But I think we need to look at the macro level. We shouldn't stop at abortion, we shouldn't stop it here. We should look into it and educate ourselves more on the matter.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. I'm going to ask President to wrap it up. Get it?
Thanks very much, Mr. Bush and panelists. The penultimate word this evening goes to Mara Thompson.
Thank you. thank you. That's basically what I like to say. Yes, it was a lively discussion. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Thompson. Indeed, we have to thank everyone for coming. Most of all, the students who did a fantastic job under the tutelage of Mr. Eric King, Mr. Ed Bushel, the moderator, all the other panelists. We thank you all very much for coming. Mr. Howard Jones and his wife came all the way from New York to celebrate with us. All the other persons who graced us with their presence. Indeed, tomorrow night, tomorrow evening at school we'll have games. But I want you to know that tomorrow night on Mid-Wicket with Mr. Keith Holder, so Wesley Hall will grace that studio 100.7, along with myself to talk cricket, of course promoting the T20 night cricket, and indeed the cricket on Thursday. The week continues, and we'd like to tell you that at the back, just before you go, there's a little bit of drink for you to wet your whistles, those of you who have whistles. So once again, we thank you all so very much for coming out tonight. And indeed, again, hats off to the students for filling in. And we take Mrs. Thompson's suggestion that more than likely the debate next year will in earnest continue with the Old Scholars against the debating society in school. Thank you all very much, and do get on. Thanks once again.